Good evening. This is Defacto Review, a weekly analysis of Mongolia's latest political, economic, and social issues by economist and columnist Mr. D.Jargalsaikhan.
Good evening.
And I'll be your host, Tikshirut. Today's topics are the ongoing protests against coal theft, the list of names that was released by the anti-corruption agency, and the issue of mineral royalties and how it's affecting Mongolia's economy. So the protests that are happening right now are continuing on their 16th day, making it the longest protest in modern Mongolian history. So as Tengur TV has estimated, there were over 17,000 people at once during the protest at its peak, and there are some people that are even sleeping at the main square to protest against the government. So they're not taking any days off or any nights off. So what has motivated the people to stay out for this song in such extreme conditions?
Well, this is not only called theft protests. This protest is very long awaited and a very after big tolerance it comes. So many people are now staying in the freezing night on Sukhbata Square, and the coal theft is only one issue. It's an issue for justice. It's in general bigger fight for against corruption. As Prime Minister announced yesterday at the Parliament sessions that it is a matter of fighting with a big political group called Manan. In Mongolian it sounds like a fog, but however it's a combination of a People's Party and Democratic Party, people's combination of theft or corruption that completely kept in their hand Mongolian judicial system, some even political parties, etc. And the current government, that's one of the reasons why people support the current cabinet is this cabinet has completed several big scandalous cases. For example, the case of Erdenet 49% purchase by a group combined of the head of Trade and Development Bank, the owner of Trade and Development Bank, Erden Bileg, and the former president, Ilbegdorj. And this group had bought certain state-owned enterprise with state money. And that case now is in the court. Second, a clear case of fighting corruption by this government is a case of Dubai agreement about Ayutthaya case, and now $2.3 billion debt of Mongolian government is regarded not debt, and Mongolia will not pay this amount of money for the share of it in OT. The third is about how Manang, this folk group, have raised bond on behalf of the government, and how this group is misused the bond through Development Bank of Mongolia, where the bad loan is more than half of the assets, but successfully they got paid under the pressure of the government and people. Some 800 billion MNT is paid back. And the last one, this is the case of this coal theft. Erdenet Tavantalga state-owned enterprises of coal mine. They are now emergency state is announced for the next 6 months, and now that's the reason why the whole amount and cases and details of this coal theft was revealed. So that's what the government is doing. But however, those people who are involved in the corruption are fighting back very severely now, according to the Prime Minister, and they're also one of the reasons of provoking the protests as well. So that's why that's the case of the reason of this protests. People fight for justice, and so what is the result of the demonstration? Certainly, after 12 days of fight in the freezing night, the result is the cabinet again, the Oyun government had suggested certain amendments in several laws, in criminal laws, which really was hindering the justice prevailed in this country. And this, what they have suggested, and which now are discussed now as we speak of, and these are the cases of, for example, once a former political officer involved in corruption and misusing his public position, once it's proved by the court, had a penalty, then after a certain period, they could continue their public jobs. Now, this provision is changed. They will never will be able to run public office and also run for election. That's the provision suggested first. Second is, before the property they got, wealth they got through corruption was this case was after a certain period of investigation is expired, because there was a fixed period of investigation, and after a certain period this criminal case were not regarded before. Now they are completely changing this clause. Now it will not be anymore that case of expiration of the period, and the income or wealth or property they have earned or got through the corruption will be confiscated as state property. The third, and it's a very important case, it is provision number 22 in our criminal law, that once a criminal had, it's called, they agree that they have made this crime, and full-heartedly they announce all these details, disclose all these details, then they will be freed from penalty, from any prison penalty, and paid only 40 million tugriks. This was the case through which many former politicians have saved their property, taken through corruption. Now it's called simplified procedure of criminal case. Now it will be deleted from the law, and that will make a complete changes in the case of public property theft in the country. The last one is the maximum penalty prison period was 5 to 12 years for public officer corruption. Now it will be 12 to 30 years, way extended that penalty for corrupt officials, former officials. These are 4 changes the cabinet suggested to the parliament, and Prime Minister made a speech. And as we discuss, as we talk about that now, these changes are discussed at the parliament, and hopefully it will be approved. And at least the people will see who is not approving, who has another argument. Because December 21st, Mongolians, there will be a public hearing at the parliament with participation of people, including those who are protesting. So we will see within a few days ahead what is the further legal achievements of these demonstrations.
So it's basically closing some loopholes that existed in our judicial system.
Yes.
And will they be able to, what's the timeline on this issue? As in, would they be able to make these amendments, would there have to be a lot of intense debate before it's passed?
Well, this People's Party has 62 seats out of 76. And the person who is the head of the cabinet, the prime minister, is a head of the political party. And my hope is it will be succeeding faster than one would expect. If it is succeeding and all these 4 amendments are made before December 21st, this public hearing, that will be a substantial step forward to close that loop, as you said.
Let's move on to our second topic. So the Anti-Corruption Agency has released a list of 17 people's names, and in this list of 17 people's names who were reportedly connected to the coal theft investigation. So within this list, there was the ex-president, Mr. Bahtolak. There were 7 members of parliament, and the 2 former CEOs of the Erdenstown Joint Stock Company. There were some leaders from the Umlo province. And as of right now, there are 22 cases of corruption, and 15 people have been arrested, and 10 have been detained as of right now. And there's a lot of corruption cases that are being discussed right now. Are you surprised that there are only 17 people on this list? Because the people reportedly were expecting more names.
I truly believe that there will be way more lists afterwards. These 17 persons' names come out. A source says that Mr. Kang Hoyak, who was just recent CEO of Erdenstown Company, had tried to use the simplified version, simplified procedure of the criminal law, as we have mentioned earlier. He wants to use it, and that's why, if these amendments will not be made, and he can use it, so that if he sincerely recognizes his fault and relieve all the facts, then he will be having only a penalty of 40 million MNT, and that's all. So he, at least as a result of his trying, these names came out from, I understand, him. However, the 5 parliament members of his own political party, People's Party, parliament member Ananda Bazar, Naram Batar, Bat Tumur, Sirgiling, Ratna Sit, it's incumbent parliament members, they have announced that they don't know where even the Tawantalwa mine is. So it's a very strange statement, and if they don't know, then how it could be connected. And it's not only the purchase issue, but it's also mostly transport issue of the coal, procurement issue. So under many issues, these people are involved. As you said, a former president, former speaker Inkbald, and then the head of president office had Shijir, and former minister for transport, road and transport, Mr. Kambat. And those people, altogether 17, are involved, at least according to this list. People are not happy, and in particular those parliament members are not necessarily the main players of this whole stuff. That's what people are protesting. But the important thing is now they will investigate. Mr. Deputy Anti-Corruption Agency head, as Jargal said, that we have certain documents, certain facts we will share, not now. And they will continue to check, investigate these people, and all now, they cannot go abroad. So they have a border restriction, border crossing restriction. So at least they have made the public, at least with certain names now. But it will go further because it is not limited by these people. And so now people are demanding, for example, these big off-take agreements related officials, owners of the company, like with Body International, by Skalan, who is the head of who is owner of the Qolumt Bank, but international, and it's his connection with the Mr. President Battulga, etc. So now big names coming, and finally people are digging down deeper, and hopefully at the end the truth should come out, and nobody should be a victim of all this, say, without fact. And it is not that the Kanhoyag or whoever, it is the only court who will decide who is exactly at fault. So before that, we cannot say that these people are the criminals. Cannot say that.
How about the 7 members of parliament that are on this list, as they have political immunity? So
that's a good point.
Would they have to have their immunity suspended for them to be investigated?
That's one of the big reasons in Mongolia when the parliament member have this immunity. By the way, in many countries, in the Scandinavian countries, there is not such understanding or terms of immunity. Nobody is immune from the justice. Law is serving everybody this equal way. That's why there will be discussions at the parliament about the immunity, but I don't think they will decide they will rid off their immunity. So bigger, I think it's the second stage of this whole fight. Today, these 4 amendments we have talked in the criminal law to be approved. The second one is to be, in particular, for the next election, we expect quite much constitutional amendments, which will be more clear Mongolian legal system, the state system, into more parliamentarian rather than the presidential or semi-presidential power. So we do expect this kind of ripping off this status of immunity.
Let's move on to our final topic for this week. So the issue of taxing mineral use, or also known as royalty, is a topic that has been, a part of a lot of discourse at this moment. So what exactly is a mineral royalty, and what role does it play for the economy?
Well, royalty is a very important issue for mineral-rich country. It meaning that whatever you produce from your final products, the certain amount of percent of that proceeds of that mineral sales, the state is taken as a royalty. In case of America, the owner of the land is getting that. In Mongolia, the land is owned by people and controlled by the state. So the state is taking their royalty on the name of the people. In case of coal, that royalty is from 3 to 5%, quite competitive rate, because in some countries it could be up to 10%, etc. So in Mongolian case, you produce coal and you pay. In particular, for example, let's say Irtnistavan Talga, they produce a certain amount of coal and sell it, and they should have 5% to the state. But what's happening is now, since 2014, there's 2 systems. One is at the site of deposit, they sell it. At the same time, in Australia, for example, they sell it, the price from which they pay royalty is the final price, export price. It's a seaborne price in Australia. On the board of the ship, when coal comes, from that sales price, the certain percent goes as royal. In Mongolia, what happened was, I think it's again, certain mafia had thought about that. Now they sell it at the site, and they sell it at the border, completely different price. And nowadays, even 50%, $400, $60, $400. So the state now supposedly to have it from this, but however, how he can sell, because it's from producer, how he can pay 30% of the $400, while he sold it at $60 per ton. So as a result, the state made special resolution in July 2021, in which they said that they will use for royalty case the price. They said the bench price, and that price is the price when Chinese partner buys the coal at the border, which is impossible for the producer to pay. So as a result, they have made certain regulations, the government resolution, and 30% out of that price you have to pay. Even 5% if they pay from that amount, it is becoming like not 5%, but 30% of the price. With that price and that royalty, the company cannot pay it. So that's why the all coal producers have complained. They have given the government to administrative court. So let's see what is the result. However, for example, Irdines Tavan Talga, the state-owned mine, for the coal transport, there are many other companies with 25,000 trucks, while it can be done only with 1,000 trucks, which, for example, Energy Resources, next the private coal company, they use only 1,000 trucks, and they dig and they produce coal, they put on their own trucks, they go to the border, and even sometimes they sell it to the east coast of China, and from that price they pay royalty. So again, it is designed so that the whole people, particularly many parliament members here involved, they are involved in transportation scheme. According to the facts, many of them have thousands, hundreds of trucks, which the transportation is making way more money than coal itself, coal producer. So that's one of the reasons of this having this coal theft, so many thousand trucks moving in the country, creating big environmental problem.
This has been it for this week's Defacto Review. We've delivered the 3 most important topics that are happening in our political and economic spheres here in Mongolia. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching us. We try to share with you, in particular these days, all problems related to, all issues related to this demonstration outside of Ulaanbaatar, outside of State Palace on Sukhbata Square, and we try to share with you what is the reason behind, what is new progress in this regard, what the state is doing to meet the demands of protesters. Thank you very much for watching us.